All right, Black Girl Say Something. Welcome to Black Girl Say Something, where this Black girl has something to say. And while we wait for our guests to come on, we going to wait for our guests to come on while we do a little chit and a little chat. So far, we've been going live every Thursday. Because if you're joining, welcome, welcome. Can you hear me? Let me know that you can hear me. Let's say drop a purple heart in the chat if you can hear me. Welcome to the live. Say welcome. So far we've been going live every Thursday for the month of May. You know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. We kicked it off with Dr. Candace Brooke. Last week we went live with Indigo. And this week, let's see who we're gonna go live with because we have a special guest. So I'm just waiting on her to come on. As y'all are coming in, don't forget to grab your daily heart me. Make sure you're liking the live. That will push it out to the people that needs to see it. I'll tell y'all this. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I found myself kind of being a lot quiet today because I wanted to say something for the live. If I'm being quite honest with y'all, it has been a doozy this past week. Just today was a little bit overwhelming nonetheless. But with that being said, I'm gonna push through. I'm going to get, things done and do what's necessary. So doing this doesn't bring me great joy. So I do it because I started my podcast as an outlet to my mental health, if we're being honest. Yeah, I started my podcast as an outlet to my mental health. And I'm pretty sure other people who started podcasts who actually have great things to say, things to talk about, and move past kind of all of the trauma, maybe in the healing space. And y'all know how it goes. I'm here. Let's see. I'm waiting on her to come on. Let's see if we're gonna. I'm just waiting on her to come on. But with that being said, TikTok, what are you showing me? So I'm gonna give it a little bit, just a small bit of time, cause y'all know I got something to say. All right, so getting into while I wait for her to come on, I'm gonna give it about maybe it's 8:03 my time right now. I'm gonna give it to like 8:05, and I'm gonna hop right in. But since I got y'all here, I might as well just go over a few things that I have going on within Black Girl Say Something. So I own an optical. We've reduced services. We're no longer filling the prescription for glasses and contacts until further notice. So major plug, Top Notch Eyewear is having a 65% off frame only sale. So see a frame, like a frame, add it to your cart. 65% off is automatically added, and that's on each and every frame that you add to your cart, not just a total order. So it's not 65% off your whole order, it's 65% off every frame that you add to your cart. So there's that. You also know me for teaching courses like racial disparities in healthcare. Currently, healthcare is politics is happening. Those two courses are 25% off each. So if you are interested in those courses, racial disparities in healthcare is a 12 module course, a 12-week course. Can it be done in one day? Yes, it can be done in one day, but I don't want you to get learner's fatigue. So you definitely want to like find at least 45 minutes, if anything, an hour of your time to sit and watch the material and answer any discussions and read any articles that might be attached to the module for that week. If you're just coming into the live, we're waiting for our guests. So I'm just running over some things that I have going on. And like the live, also it's greatly appreciated. I see the likes coming in, so I really thank you for that. So just catching y'all up on some things that I have going on. All frames at Top Notch Eyewear, 65% off. The courses are 25% off until the end of the month. I believe the frame sale is also until the end of the month or until we sell out because we're trying to wrap up shop. The tariffs got the business not doing too well. So there's that. What else do I have going on? There's Patreon. If you want to subscribe to the Patreon, I've been a lot more active over there per the request of the subscribers. Just kind of digging deep into some things. I just released a story time about situationship. So if you want to hear about that, and it's not like what you think. So if you want to hear more about that, go over there and check that out. as well as, we're on YouTube and we drop an episode of the podcast every Friday. So those are the some of the things that we have going on. And I always encourage people to just click the link in my bio. The link in my bio kind of has more of a get to know Black Girl Say Something Dr. Appleton feel to it. So this way you just click through the links. My son and I co-authored a journal. And since we're talking about Mental Health Awareness Month, him and I co-authored a journal. He's now 10. We co-authored that journal when he was 8 years old. And the journal is called Black Boy Say Something. And it's because I created a journal for girls called I'm a Pearl to create confident little girls, because I spoke at a conference for mothers and daughters. And what I found was a lot of these girls were saying they didn't understand how to journal. So I created that journal teaching them how to journal, how to have a creative space so they're able to draw, write, doodle, whatever, to have that outlet, right? If it's their own private space. If you were on the live last week, we were talking about the writer's wound. And what happens with the writer's wound, Indigo talked about it from a standpoint of some people, a writer's wound happens when your space is invaded, when you are writing in your journal and your space then becomes invaded, right? And then you're punished for the things that you wrote in said journal. And if you want to see that, the recap of that is on the YouTube as well. So we talked about the writer's wound last week, but taking the time to bring it back and tell you about how my son and I co-authored a journal. I created a little girl's journal, and he was like, "Mommy, there's no journals for boys." We would go to like the stores, Walmart, wherever we would go, Family Dollar, like the dollar store. And he's like, all of the journals are for girls. There's no journals for boys. And I also recognized that I would buy him like a composition notebook. And he's like, that's a school book. That's not a journal. And so I was like, tell me some things you would like to see in a journal. And he went and he wrote some prompts in a journal. And I was like, doodle me what you would like that to look like. So we created Black Boy Say Something, which is a journal for little boys, right? And more specifically Black boys, because we want our Black boys to grow up to be emotionally well men, emotionally intelligent men. So that's the whole purpose of Black Boy Say Something. But Black Girl Say Something, I see more people coming into the live, but I don't see my guests. So I'm taking up the time and chatting with y'all about the things that make Black Girl Say Something Black Girl Say Something, right? I started Black Girl Say Something as a space because we're talking about mental health awareness month, which is May. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. I have a doctorate in health science that concentrates in global health. I want to be mentally well. And I think the takeaway that I always like to let people know about Black Girl Say Something is my ability to say something used to be hindered, right? And so I started to get into a space where I created video journals, and that was kind of like the outlet and the therapy. And not for nothing, I always wanted to start a podcast, but I was with somebody, I'm in the middle of a divorce. So I was with somebody who took away my ability to say something. It was always, you trying to start an argument, you trying to do this, you trying to do that. And it's like, I'm not trying. I'm really just trying to say something, but you're not listening. And so when you're with somebody who's dedicated to misunderstanding you, what else do? You have to remove yourself from those types of situations. There also was domestic violence involved, and I'm a survivor of that. And so once I started to say something, once Black Girl Say Something started to say something, guess what? People started listening. And I didn't care about the people who said, maybe it's not true. Like we see what's happening now with celebrities. I don't typically like to talk about like celebrity issues because, again, I'm somebody, a lot of the stuff that y'all hear about, y'all gonna hear about it because it already happened. I wasn't in a place to talk about the things while they were happening because I didn't, because of the fear of being perceived and judged. Right now, I could talk about the things that have happened, how I've gotten past it. But you don't have an opinion typically on things until you have either gotten past it, and you still shouldn't have an opinion on it because it affects everybody differently. And so, getting to this space where it's like, talk about it Thursday, I could sit here and talk about, because this is going to go on my YouTube, but I know on TikTok, it tends to get a little, they censor a lot of things. So when we're talking about things like the writer's wound, which we talked about last week, we talked about getting out of survival mode and how to not project that onto your children. Thank you. Getting out of survival. We talked about getting out of survival mode and how to not project that onto your children. Thank you. Getting out of survival mode and how to not project that onto your children. The reality is you don't want to project those types of things onto your children because then what happens next? It kind of stays with them, and then they project it onto their children, and then they project it onto their children, and it just never really stops. And so it stops here, right? Because this black girl has something to say. Y'all see how I did that? But that was the whole idea of Black Girl Say Something, and not for nothing. My nickname was Black Girl, so it was like, okay, what's gonna be the name of the podcast? Black Girl Say Something, and it worked out so perfectly. Thank you, B Queen. Hey, it worked out perfect for me to be able to utilize a platform and talk about the different things. Like one of my number one running episodes right now is still the relationship paradigm shift. And I'm somebody wholeheartedly, I started therapy because of a friendship breakup. And that friendship breakup, while I was still with my children's father, while I was still married, he didn't understand why that hurt me so badly, that he thought I was cheating on him. And I was like, no, like my friend like really broke up with me. Like my feelings is hurt. And he really didn't care. And even though he liked this friend, because I had a number of friends that he didn't care for. So when me and those friends would fall out, he'd be like, oh, see, you wasn't supposed to be friends with him anyways. And so there was like this social abuse that would happen, right? Where it's like, okay, I'm going to isolate her. She doesn't need to have friends. She doesn't need to be around people. If I can keep her as busy, if I can monopolize all of her time, if I can, you know, I was also in my doctoral program. I graduated my master's in 2018. If he could just, even when I would have study groups, if he could somehow sabotage that so I can't meet with the study group, or if he could somehow, he would do these things, and that took a toll on my emotional and mental health, right? And so my mental well-being, now we're talking about, May being Mental Health Awareness Month. Thank you, Chantel. When we look at, you know, getting past these relationships, we got to say something. We got to speak up. And again, back to what my original point, because I be brain dumping y'all. Now, I was supposed to have a guest, but I know she's also in a different time zone. So I'm filling the space because I be having something to say. And I kind of stayed quiet all day because I wanted to save up my energy to speak. Today was an not emotionally, it was more of a mentally draining day. My children have my daughter's coming out of, she's in ninth grade. They have a dance and an award ceremony. And I've talked about this openly on some of my videos, and I got to bring it back around. I'm so proud of her. I want that every time I put out a video, I'm going to tell you how proud I am of my children, but my daughter more specifically, I'm so proud of her because we started out last school year, her coming out of eighth grade with some learning obstacles. And those learning obstacles, because I was really putting my best foot forward and finding her all of the resources and the things that she needed. She is at the top of her class for ninth grade. So there's an award ceremony and a dance that she will be attending Sunday, while also having to complete her lifeguard training this weekend. So I told her, I said, girl, you getting busy. The more up you go in getting to adulthood, the busier things get. And then you have to create a schedule, and you also have to find time to do the things that are important to you as well as have fun. So she's been kind of back and forth wrestling with that. But my son is also coming out of fifth grade, and he's actually skipping a grade. So he's coming out of fifth grade and going into seventh grade. And so he has an award ceremony the same day as her dance. So I'm just like overwhelmed. I had to do his hair. He has locks. So I retwisted his locks. I put my sister on my daughter's hair duty. So, and I got to do my daughter lashes. I got to go get her some press-ons. So I'm working, y'all. When I say I'm a working mother, I'm a mother. Okay. And I'm a primary solo parent. And so being a primary solo parent really, I'm getting to do all of the things that I wanted to do. We were married, we were living together in a house. So I'm a primary solo parent, and I does this, and I'm proud of me, and I'm proud of my children. And I say I have amazing children, not because they're my children, but because I'm their mom. Thank you, y'all. Like this black girl has something to say, and I had to just take a moment to big myself up, but also big them up because they are doing amazing things. They are doing some amazing things, as you should be. Thank you. So I'm so proud of them. So when I take these videos, these lives, and I put them over on my YouTube, I'm always excited because these are things that my children can watch back and be like, "Dang, my mama felt like that about me." Um, but they also know I be recording the podcast. They listen to the podcast. How do I share? I don't know. My lives is on private. That's another story for another day, y'all. It was some weird stuff going on with my TikTok. And so I ended up making my page private. I'm kind of doing like a little social experiment to my TikTok journey and growth by making my page private. I kind of had to do that because it was getting weird in these TikTok streets. And ever since TikTok came back, remember they took TikTok away for like a day? And TikTok came back, and then my page kind of grew really quickly. It's been super weird. And so for my mental health, I made my page private, and I kind of just do like it like that. I don't know. I come across people, like I interact with a lot of people in comments and stuff, but I also block a lot of people too. So I just, you can share the podcast, like you can share the YouTube, because the podcast is on YouTube. The podcast is wherever you listen to podcasts. When I say wherever, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podvine, Google, Amazon, and YouTube has a YouTube podcast feature. So there's like 7 ways you can listen to the podcast. And then there's exclusive episodes over on Patreon, and those episodes are typically in studio recorded, or I'm talking about something. Sometimes I have to link certain things to the Patreon because I would have a story time, and then I can't say like all of the things on the story time in the actual podcast, so I put it on Patreon. If you get my gist. A lot of times people are like, how are you still in the middle of a divorce since 2021? Y'all, I don't know. I don't know. Right? The harsh reality is when we're talking about certain things like I don't know, can I say domestic violence on here? I don't know, TikTok might ban that. But when we're talking about DV, um I know right now there's a celebrity that's going through that. I hope she gets the restraining order. Just say DV. Yes, when we're talking about DV, the reality, the harsh, and the thing about it is, I don't even like calling it DV. I be wanting to say the name because just like when you are going through the thing, it's so hard to come to terms with it, right? And I'll never forget the day that I had to go get a restraining order. They ask you to write out what happened 6 months back, and tears just came down my eyes. I talk about this on the podcast. Tears just come down my eyes. And why did I start tearing up? I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like all of this been going on for this long, because it happens quickly, right? It happens quickly. And so when somebody's like, how does this person go and get a restraining order all these months later? It's not that you just go all of these months later. A restraining order process is very tedious. So I go and get a restraining order December 3rd of 2021, but I'm talking about stuff that was happening in November, in October, in September. Like it was going all the way back to like the summer and on. So, in an attempt to really way back to like the summer and on. So, in an attempt to really, come to grips. And I'll never forget the one time I told my therapist, she was like, okay, so when you're having a disagreement, how does it typically go? Thank you, Dr. Johnson. She was like, when you're having a disagreement, how does it typically go? And I was like, oh, I'll usually say, because I'm very communicative, I'm not comfortable with talking about this right now. I need some space to talk. And so she's like, okay, so then what will typically happen? Well, this person will follow me from room to room to room to still want to have a conversation. She's like, that's not normal, right? And I'm like, really? And then also too, getting woken up out your sleep to have a conversation about something that happened 2 days ago. Those things are not normal. That is mental and emotional and social abuse. But people don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And I think a lot of times we have been conditioned, especially as women, we've been kind of conditioned to believe that a DV type situation, I don't know if I can say the word abuse, but that is synonymous with bruises, right? With the physical, but we're not taking into consideration the financial, the mental, the social, the anxiety that happens when this person calls your phone. Like, we don't take those things into consideration. So, I was never really somebody who was super duper anxious, and they don't even tell you if you don't have any children, you don't have any children. The minute you have children, you develop some level of anxiety, right? The anxiety starts to take a toll. And so then after you have one child, then you have a second, double the anxiety, right? Because you got to make sure that you're doing this right. You want to do this right. Then you got to make sure you're doing this for the other kid. And they've always said to me, if you're worrying about being a good mom, you probably are doing a good job. And it's like, yeah, but I feel like I could be doing better. I could be doing. right? But the reality is, when we're talking about mental health, it's sometimes it's not even what's going on in you, it's what's going on around you. Find time to take those breaks. Find time to journal. We talked about journaling last week, right? If you somebody who was subjected to a writer's wound where somebody read your journal and now they're punishing you for the things they read in your journal, that doesn't just happen when you're a kid. That happens when you're an adult too. It happens when you're an adult too, and then you find yourself in a space where you don't even want to write anymore. So if you have a book that's within you and you want to write it, just start writing. The ideas will, it will come. Don't, get, oh yeah, that was a touchy subject last week. But don't hold yourself back from getting back to a space where you can write, getting back to a space where you can trust yourself so that you can write. Even just trusting yourself. Let me tell you something. Once I made the right decision for myself, Dr. Brooke talks about this, grieving, making the right decision. She talked about it, I believe earlier this week. She was talking about letting go of like relationships. And I like to use the word relationships very loosely, because when I'm saying relationships, I'm talking about ships. That could be with your sibling, that could be your mama, your daddy, your sister, your cousin, your brother, your intimate partner, your best friend, your acquaintance, your job, whatever ship. Whenever you interact with people, that is some form of a relationship. And so I always say the ships. And my sister said, you got to ask yourself, is this ship feeling like a cruise ship or a pirate ship? Is this person coming in your life for a hostile takeover? Or is it a good sunny time and it's fun and it's good food and we enjoying ourselves? Are we on a cruise ship, or are you trying to take me on a pirate ship? Because if you're gonna try to take me on a pirate ship, I got to get up off this sucker. Okay, like let me go right now. So, with that being said, I just wanted to touch base with y'all. My guest is on a different time zone. And so that's all good and dandy. We might have double the guests next week, um, which I'm fine with too. Because when the girls get together, the girls that have podcasts and the girls that do things and we get to talking, we get to talking. But I'm fine just sharing with y'all a little bit of what I've seen over this time, and in an attempt to continue the celebration and the conversations about mental health awareness, is holding space to give yourself grace. I think a lot of times, as just in the Black community, Black women, we don't give ourselves the same grace that we give to others. And if you've never heard me say it before, I'll say it here to y'all. I don't give people the benefit of the doubt because it never benefits me. Like, we have to start doing things that benefits us. Like, I'm not going to give you the benefit of the doubt because that's a benefit to you. So if I'm giving he, she, they, them, all of them the benefit of the doubt, I didn't gave out all my benefits, right? So I only want to do things that benefit me. And I feel like when I started to get to a place where I only did things that benefit me, I found that was better for my mental health. I found that I had less anxiety. I found that I didn't have to worry too much about who was going to be there for me. Yeah, they exhausted all the benefits. All the benefits is exhausted. Until you show me, and even then, you showing me is still a benefit to me. But I'm not giving out the benefit of the doubt, because that's when the doubt shows up. The minute I gave you that benefit of the doubt, the minute doubt shows up. Just like when we think about court, in court, somebody's on trial. The jury of their peers has to say what the benefit of the doubt is, that they believe that the person did or didn't do it, right? Once they believe that the person did or didn't do it, if they say the person didn't do it, then the person gets off. That person receives the benefit. But then does that benefit the person who the crime was committed against? No. So I don't give people the benefit of the doubt, y'all. I really don't. And because people have exhausted their benefits with me, I found that I have less anxiety when I do what benefits me. I find that I'm not as worrisome. I find that I really don't care what people think about me, because they're going to think what they think about you anyways, right? Whether you let them take advantage of you or you don't let them take advantage of you. Either way it go, you let them take advantage of you, they're like, yeah, she a duck, I could take advantage of her again. You don't let them take advantage of you. Oh, she thinks she all that. Now you never gonna take advantage of me again. We good. Either way, I'm winning. It's all part of boundary setting. Yes, and when we set those boundaries, and when we set those boundaries, the reality is the only people that would be mad that you're setting those boundaries are people who benefited from you not having the boundary. Oh, she thinks she bigger than the program, and I, yeah, and the whole time I be the program. I ain't even go there. But whole time I be the program. So it's like, you know, when you don't have boundaries, and I'll close with this. When you don't have boundaries, what happens is you not having boundaries will show up in every area of your life. When people be like, "Oh, I'm a mom first and everything after." Oh no, baby, no, baby. I'm a baddie first, and then I'm a mama. Because guess what? A good tree bear good fruit, and if I'm the tree that bear these fruit, I gotta take care of me. I gotta take care of me first. I gotta have boundaries with my children. When you don't have no boundaries, the people, oh, my kids be up. It's 8:26. My house is asleep, and I'm in here running my mouth with y'all. Why? Because I have a boundary. The house need to be closed by 7:45. Kitchen clean, everybody ate, fed, laid down, sleep, clothes out for tomorrow. Boom. The house is done. I got boundaries with my kids. I got boundaries with my job. I have boundaries with my clients. I have boundaries online and offline. Hence why the page is private, because I got to have boundaries, right? I think sometimes we get into a space too when we are creating. Um, and Faye, it's hard, but Dr. Brooks said this best. I took this from her because I like to cite people when I get information from them. Small boundaries. Small boundaries. And you know what I think about sometimes when I think about people creating small boundaries? You know those people that when they food get messed up at the restaurant, they don't want to say nothing? That's a small boundary. I feel like that could be considered a small boundary. If you somebody every time you go somewhere and you tell the people, "Oh, no mayo on my sandwich," and they put mayo on it, you like, "Oh, I'll just scrape it off." Baby steps. Go back to the window and tell the people, take the mayo, make a new one with no mayo. I'm somebody who hate mayo, y'all. So that's why I'm using that as an example. But maybe it's tomatoes. Maybe your small boundary is telling them no tomatoes, no lettuce, extra cheese. I don't know. Maybe they made the steak well done and not and you want it medium. Right. So small boundaries. Whenever she said that, I was like, oh, I got to give my people some examples of what small boundaries are. Because the reality is sometimes we don't even know where to start. This is why you got to get therapy. But sometimes we don't know where to start, and you don't want to get to a place where you're in information overload, because sometimes information overload breeds anxiety too. So small boundaries is all it takes. There's a book in my showcase called Reparenting Yourself While Parenting Your Children. It's a great book. The reality is of that book is when I found out that I don't have to compensate for my children not being able to interact with their father because of a restraining order. I can just only be me and stay firm with my boundaries and do what's in the best interest of me, because they will receive what's in the best interest of them. I'm not doing anything in the best interest of me out of malice. I'm not doing anything in the best interest of me out of malice. So because I'm not doing anything in the best interest of me out of malice, they will reap the benefit. The difference is when you have another parent that's doing something in the best interest of them out of malice, we know that buzzword, that is narcissism, right? So therapy is so necessary to help set those boundaries. Yeah, because sometimes you don't even know you let people cross your boundaries. You tell your even your children, they put on this earth to cross your boundaries till you teach them what boundaries are. And then here's why we will have sons that grow up to be men that be crossing people boundaries everywhere they go and think, woe is me, the world is on my shoulders and that nobody letting me do what I want to do. You know what? They have a place for men that don't want to do what nobody tell them to do. They have a place just for them. So we have boundaries around here. You're going to respect women. You're going to do what's right. And you're going to turn your nose away from what's wrong because you know right from wrong. Same thing with my daughter. Having boundaries with her looks like, hey, I'm your friend in this instance, but right now, we're not doing that right now. Okay? We mother-daughter right now. Right? And so it's creating those boundaries. I hear when people say, I hear them. They're like, oh, I'm not your little friend. But in some cases, I kind of need to sit down and get down to that level to understand what's going on, so that this way we can create some boundaries together. Because teaching her boundaries through my boundaries means that she's going to learn how to have boundaries with her friends. So when you don't have any boundaries at all, now your job running over you, your mama running over you, your daddy running over you, your siblings running over you, your kids, now you just a doormat. Mm-mm. Speak up, let people know where they had you messed up at. Speak up and let them know where they had you messed up at. Because the reality is sometimes I think people don't know, but I also, because I don't give people the benefit of the doubt, I think they always know. So it's just letting them know. And that's on T. Anywho, y'all liking this live, like the live. Drop some purple hearts if y'all feeling the message. I see y'all having a little comments back and forth. It's like baby steps. I like that. Small boundaries. Yeah, Dr. Brooke said that. Candace Brooke. She's right here on TikTok. Y'all follow her. Yeah, it can be hard. It can be hard, but therapy does help you set those boundaries. And I think too, sometimes, speaking from experience, sometimes we have those invisible boundaries, right? And it's like, well, why would they do that to me? Why they always coming to ask me for the bar money, knowing I ain't got it? Some people don't know you ain't got it. You got to tell them, hey, check this out. I'm uncomfortable when you asking me to borrow money. Don't do that no more. And if they do it again, now they crossing your boundary. You see what I'm saying? You see? So it's really just, finding a healthy space. Again, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. Wanted to tell y'all a little bit about my journey, but also I'm the catalyst. I'm my own example. I'm not speaking from anybody else's examples. I could cite my sources when I'm bringing them to you because I'm a researcher like that. And the statistics shows with baby, when you ain't got no boundaries, it's going to affect every area of your life. You think not having boundaries with your kids is one thing. And even if you don't have no children, you think not having boundaries at the job. And again, it goes back to what we faced in childhood. Children were to be seen and not heard. And that's why I started Black Girl Say Something, because as a Black girl who was very colorful and bold and bright, a lot of that was tone it down. Don't wear so much pink. Don't be so this. Girls not supposed to do this. Girls not supposed to do that. Sometimes you don't know you letting people walk on you like a dog. Yeah, sometimes you don't know. They know after a while. Because once you say no, they know. I felt worse when I knew that silence had become a language for me. Breaking out is freeing. Yeah. Once you start speaking up, you realize a lot of people go through some of the same things. A lot of people go through some of the same things. It is very freeing. That's why we have our voice. We got to speak up. We have to say something. Okay, we have to. Because the minute you don't say anything, and I hate to use this example, but it's the example that I use when I speak to like teenage girls, like in teenage settings, I do like sex education. So in those settings, I often tell them you have to be able to if you are engaging in something that doesn't feel comfortable, you need to speak up, because you don't know what somebody else has learned, and that's what they're going to do to you. So you need to speak up, whether it's bullying, whether it's whatever it is. Y'all get my gist. Whatever it is that children typically can engage in at a teenage age, y'all know teenagers anywhere between 13 and 19, okay? 13 and 20 if you will. Um you got to speak up. You got to say something. You really have to use that voice, right? Especially listening to that voice from within, that voice from within that's going to tell you something don't feel right. This don't feel right. And I think as children, many of us who are now in a healing space in our adulthood, it's like, dang, I never really got to listen to that voice. So you don't know if you're making the right choice. You don't know, you second guessing yourself. Then that breeds anxiety, because once you start to second guess yourself, you're going back and forth in your mind. And now you're like, well, what's next? Is this the right choice? If every time you got to do something, you got to consult somebody, ain't nothing wrong with having some consultants, but sometimes you know what you need to do, just do that. Now, ain't nothing wrong with getting some confirmation, but if you already have made a choice within yourself and you go and consult somebody and then they sway you to make another choice, that means you didn't trust yourself. So that's a whole nother topic for another day. You die on the inside. I'm not done getting older and wise, and it absolutely feels scary. Yeah, we never done. That's why you always have to be actively learning. You never stop learning. That's something I learned from the elders. And while me and my mom are only 16 years apart, sometimes she make me feel like, but missing my mark feels scarier. Yeah. No, you won't miss the mark. You won't miss it. I think don't look to anybody else to see what your mark is. You don't want to look at anyone else's mark. That's the reality. And you right where you supposed to be. Because me and my mom only 16 years apart, and sometimes she make me feel like I'm the elder. Like, girl, you older than me. I don't know. You tell me. So, anywho, tune into Black Girl Say Something, where this Black girl has something to say. If you miss any part of this live, it'll be over on YouTube. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to my YouTube, because I actually be on live a lot, y'all. So on YouTube. So y'all can check out the live. I just posted an episode about fraud and not getting frauded because these banks is these scammers is getting trickier, y'all. But tune into subscribe to the YouTube if you're interested in exclusive podcast content and episodes and talk-ins and stuff like that. Subscribe to the Patreon. Click the link in my bio. Everything is there. There's an article about me there that was published too. If you want to get to know a little bit more about Dr. Appleton, who is Black Girl Say Something. What else? Everything is there. Everything is there. But I appreciate y'all for interacting with the live, joining me. So join me next Thursday. I think I might end up having two guests because I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I have one guest. I'll probably end up having two guests on the live at the same time. So that's gonna be real spicy and good. I like that. Anywho, so that's gonna be real spicy and good. I like that. Anywho, um, so I look forward to y'all listening. New episodes drop every Friday. The podcast started in 2022. So if you just want to binge listen, it's a good time to just listen on your way to work. And you'll get something from it. I promise. I promise. Y'all know it's a teaching space. It's a healing space. And it's a place where this Black girl has something to say. So I will catch y'all next time. Thank you for joining me.